Before we look at it, I want to remind you today to be in prayer for the Hypes family. That is Drew and Ashley and Hunter and Hannah and Hallie. So John chapter 13, we're reading the story today about Jesus washing the disciples' feet. I hope you guys had a good Palm Sunday yesterday, and as we continue to work our way towards Easter, I just want to pray for you and for me as we're taking this time to meditate on what our Savior was willing to do for us, just that the Lord will speak something new to us out of these passages, reveal himself to us in a new way. The story of Jesus washing the disciples' feet. Jesus, leading up to this, he had told the disciples that he was going to be crucified. As he goes on in his ministry, he begins to speak more and more plainly with them and others that he was going to be lifted up. But it seems like they didn't always, or I don't know if they ever really seemed to completely understand what Jesus was talking about. And here at the Last Supper, we see Jesus give them two more examples, showing them, representing to them what he is about to do for them. One of them is having that Last Supper with them, right? When he breaks the bread. This is my body broken for you. And they share the wine. This is my blood in the new covenant. This is my blood spilled out for you for the forgiveness of sins. Showing them what he was going to do is they took that and they ate it. And here, I think that, we have the washing of the disciples' feet. I think it's another one of those images for them about what Christ is getting ready to do, how he's going to humble himself, how he's going to serve them, love them, as it says in this chapter, those who are his, love them to the very end. And so it's an interesting scene here. Of course, we have Jesus who wraps himself with the towel, and he takes this position of a servant and begins to wash his disciples' feet, even Judas's. And he's doing this job that it would have been a servant's job to do, washing the dirty, disgusting feet of these men who've been out walking in the city. And of course, we get to the point where Peter is the one who has a problem with it. Now, we don't know exactly what it is. I think we can infer a little bit about what Peter's problem is with Jesus washing his feet. But Jesus gets to Peter, and Peter says, you're not washing my feet. What are you doing, Jesus? And Jesus says, you don't understand it now, but you'll understand it later, what I'm doing for you. And of course, Peter says, no, you're not going to wash my feet. Well, how come? Well, I get the sense here that it's sort of like he's trying to protect Jesus. Like he says, Jesus, I don't want you to have to do this. You don't know how disgusting my feet are. There could be other reasons. I mean, maybe he just didn't think I don't think this is the reason, but maybe he didn't think his feet were dirty enough to need to be cleaned. I think that would be a reason that someone could reject having their feet cleaned. But we see whatever the reason is. I think Peter's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to care about Jesus, but in this case he says, no, you're not washing my feet. And of course, Jesus' reply was, if I don't wash you, you have no part in me. You have nothing to do with me. And Peter does that complete flip-flop, which always makes me laugh, where he says, okay, then wash my head and my hands too. And Jesus says, it's not necessary. I just need to wash your feet. So what is going on in this story? I think, as I said beforehand, this is an example for Jesus teaching them about what he is getting ready to do, how he's getting ready to humble himself in the ultimate way, humble himself to the point of death in order to clean them. And I think in Peter's response, we see part of the way that any of us can respond to what Jesus did himself when he humbled himself on the cross. We can say, no, I don't need that, or I don't want that, and we can reject what Jesus has done for us. And I think that's what Jesus is getting at when he says, hey, if I don't wash you, you have no part in me. If you're not willing to let me humble myself to wash your feet, how are you going to let me cleanse all of you from your sin in this ultimate way that he's getting ready to humble himself? I think that you can also have that attitude of the the Pharisees or the person, anybody who thinks that they're a good person, they don't need someone to humble themselves to clean them. I'm good enough. I don't need to be cleaned. Well, we know that's not the case, and I think that's part of what Jesus was showing the disciples here. And of course, we also know he was giving them an example because he says so. This is an example I'm leaving for you. As I've humbled myself, you call me your master. You're right. I am your master, and you're not greater than your master. You ought to be willing to do the same thing. Humble yourself. Love one another. Be servants. As I loved you so much, I came to humble myself to be your servant. In this case, that you should follow in that with your love for one another. And it says so at the end, this is how all men will know that you're my disciples, that you have love for one another. It should be significantly different than the love that's found in the world. It should be self-sacrificing like the love that Christ had for us. It shouldn't be self-serving. What can I get out of it? It should be relentless. It should be regardless of the humility that we take on. It should be something we pour out just because, and it should be special. So I am thankful for this passage today, not only because of what it speaks about what Jesus did for us and his love for us, but also what it says to us as followers of Christ, what our love should look like. If God spoke something to you out of this passage, leave us a message on Facebook, and I'm very thankful for you, those of you who do leave messages. We read them, and we appreciate them, and we appreciate you sharing what God has revealed to you. Let's remember to minister to one another, and God bless you guys, and thank you so much for taking